Welcome to Design TV. I'm Mary Jo Bolang, and I'm the homes editor for Luxe Interiors and Design in Colorado and San Francisco. I am joined today by designer Andrea Schumacher. Andrea, welcome to Design TV.
Thanks, and thanks for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. And I should say that you have offices in Denver and Santa Barbara. So between the two of us, I think we have this whole Colorado, California thing covered.
Yeah, I have Southern, you have Northern. It's perfect.
Yeah, we've got it. We've got it. So I'm really excited to talk to you today. We cover your work often in Luxe. And in fact, the last two projects of yours that we featured have ended up on the cover. And we're going to talk about one of those cover stories today. It's a gorgeous house in Beaumar, which is a small community outside of Littleton, Colorado. Now, I'm really excited to learn more. So let's get to it, shall we?
Sure, let's go.
All right. Now, this project that we're talking about, this is actually the second home that you completed for this client. And I'm curious how the current home differs from the first one.
Well, it's actually just a couple doors down. It sits right on the lake with 180-degree views of the Colorado Rocky Mountains. And so it's a beautiful setting from both houses. She had just a view of lake and mountains. So that was incredible for her. The first house, though, was 11,000 square feet. It was just too big for a family of three. So she decided to downsize to, I believe it's 6,000 square feet. So about half. So trying to fit everything that she needed programming wise into her new home was, the first step. But she still has the views. So.
Well, we talked about the views in the article, and I know that the homeowner, when she was interviewed, had a lot to say about the view as well. How did those lake and mountain views influence the way you designed the interiors of the house?
Sure. Well, part of it was that we wanted your eye to kind of be drawn outside more than inside. So we kind of left it muted and used a warm, a blue tone to sort of inform the interiors. And that was used as a neutral sort of, if you will. And then I left all the big pieces sort of neutral so she could change it up as wanted. So yeah, we really wanted the outside to be the artwork, if you will.
Well, we'll talk more about those colors in a moment. But I was thinking about the answers that your client gave when asked questions about the house. And one of the things she talked about was being from the East Coast. And I'm wondering, are there any East Coast references in this very Western home?
Right. Yeah, that was the intent, was to have it be, a Colorado Cape house, if you will. So the materials on the exterior were definitely informed, and the landscaping was informed by the Cape. So a lot of hydrangea and the shake, siding. So yeah, definitely brought that to Colorado, but then also used beam work in the interior to bring in some of the Colorado aspect as well.
Mm-hmm. So Cape Cod comes to Colorado. I love it.
Right.
And then, when I look at this house, for me, one of the defining moments is this beautiful floating fireplace. Its dimensions are grand, it's beautiful, and you gave it this very chic attitude. Tell us how you designed this element and how you made it kind of glam.
Right. We wanted it to be the first thing you saw when you walked into the house, but not to impede on your view all the way through. So we had to use a structural engineer to be able to lift that whole thing up. It was 100% custom, but you can see all the way through to the end of the house, into the dining room. And then the Philip Jeffries wallpaper that we used on it with that blue color kind of was the first thing we chose. I knew it would look cool because it was a wood veneer, but I also, it wasn't so in your face, that the tone of the blue. And then we took that actual wallpaper and gave it to the cabinet maker and had him make cabinets in the kitchen to match that exact color of the wallpaper. So it all was, sort of in line with each other.
The first time I saw that image, it was a real gasp-worthy thing. I thought it was actually dimensional. It looked like it was almost coffered on the fireplace.
Right.
And
yeah,
it has to do with the pattern, right? Is it actually a wood grain?
Yeah, it's an actual veneer wood grain that they make to look like it's a coffered. It's great for it's actually really, I've used it before also on a ceiling. It's a great dimensional wall covering, and it's an actual thin veneer of wood.
Mm. And so when you go into the living room, then you have this beautiful element and you chose to flank it with two Vanguard sofas. And I'm wondering how you selected this seating arrangement.
I mean, it's also versatile as you can move it around and make it more of an L shape as well. We kind of played with it. But I feel like, that since the great room can be used as a family room or a living room, I thought it was important to have seating arrangement where you could use it as both. So you could either sit in there and have a cocktail and the bar is adjacent, or you can sit there and watch television. And we integrated that into the wall so that it wasn't in your face. And I felt like, the dark blue with the color of the television made the TV sort of go away, because I don't really like looking at a television, if you will. So
Mhm. Mhm.
but and then you have the option of sitting there and putting your arm on the back of the sofa and looking at the view, or you can sit on the other sofa and have the view, and then the two chairs. It's just conversational.
I like it because, they're on either side and it just gives you a clear shot to that fabulous design element. Now, you mentioned something else that I think is really spectacular in this living room, and that is the bar. This is the bar of dreams. I love it. And two of its most notable elements are these teak pillars, these carved teak pillars. And so I was wondering how you thought about the bar and why you chose to bring the sort of global element to that feature.
Right. I mean, she loves to travel, and I think a traveled look in an interior just is a conversation starter. So we were on the hunt for something, that was, spoke to her travels. We found those. Those are Indian, and we found them on First Dibs, and we put them on hold. And I had to draw it up and try to figure out how it was going to actually be integrated with the actual bar cabinetry and the framing. And so it really, thanks to the builder, they really integrated it well with everything and made it work.
Did they come in that size? Were you that lucky, or did you have to alter them to make them fit?
No, we didn't have to alter them, but the builder actually built around them with those dimensions. So we brought them on site, and he made sure it was, to a T, and kind of, scribed the drywall to it, so there's no gaps. And
So, we were talking about story ideas yesterday in a meeting, and I think we should do a story about really cool home bars. Is that something that you're doing a lot in interiors these days?
it is. I think people like to gather either at the kitchen or at the bar area. And if they're integrated, then it's just, where they're going to go. This gives a second option to gather. And I've seen it in her house and lots of other bar designs that we've done where it's the second gathering place, and that kind of spreads people out, especially if you don't have them adjacent to each other. So yeah, I think it works well.
Now, you mentioned the kitchen. And the kitchen is one of the shining stars of this home. And one of the things that's really notable about it to me is there are elements in there that are made to look like furniture. And I'm wondering why you did that, what that adds to the aesthetic of the home.
I just don't like looking at refrigerators or freezers. So we do this often where we make them look like armoires in the kitchen. So it was intentional to make them the blue color of the Philip Jeffries coffered wall covering, and to give them feet as if they were, and hardware as if they were just two pieces of armoires sitting in, the whole thing sort of looks like furniture, if you will. So yeah, I thought that was important.
Well, if there are these elements that are furniture, the range hood is the jewelry of the room. That is such a stunner. Is it actually brass?
It is, and the metal worker that did that on the job also did all the metal work throughout the house, and he's incredible. He can do anything. So, the world is your oyster, what you can dream up.
That's
So we
really
picked the finish and played with it. We picked the finish, we played with the finish. And it's yeah, you're exactly right. It's like putting a cuff on your hand at the end after you're done putting on your outfit.
I want a
Right?
cuff like that. I should
I
talk to
know.
you. Yeah. So, we've talked about many of the bright moments here, but I want to take a moment and talk about sort of the quiet moments. The house has a really a largely neutral palette. And I'm wondering why you selected that as the background for all these showstoppers.
Yeah, I mean, it gives people an option to not be stuck into something. You paint something red and you're stuck with it, until you feel like painting again. If you leave it larger pieces neutral and throw in fun rugs and pillows and art, then when you're sick of those things, you can switch it up. So it gives you opportunity. And also, it's just a quiet interior with a spectacular view like that. You just don't want to, take away from the outside.
It sounds like a winner to me. I like
Yeah.
that. And maybe that's why, in the article we quoted you as saying that this house has almost chameleon-like nature. Is that what you were referencing?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Because the outside is that what informed the inside too.
And then, all these ideas, it seems like they come together in the entry of the home. When you walk in, it sort of tells you what's ahead. And I wonder if that's how you see it. What story do you think the entry tells?
There's a lot of found objects. There's an antique, so it's a mixture of new and contemporary and unique. So the chandelier we found, it's from a company in South Africa, and they take leather strips and they create chandeliers out of strips of leather, which is I just think right there it tells you what's about to come, right? And then the antique and the art. The art is colorful and it informs the blues you're going to see when you walk in. So I think the entry is a good sort of vignette of what is to come.
Well, we can't talk about this house without talking about the dining room. And the dining room has many statement making elements: the Quincy chandelier from Visual Comfort, the table and the chairs by Vanguard. Tell me about assembling these pieces together in one room.
Yeah, sure. I mean, the chairs, again, they're blue, but they're sort of the neutral color of the home and bring the outside in. And the chandeliers, again, are like jewelry, I think, to the home, just has a little bit of that, dramatic bling to it. And then the table's large enough to have a lot of people around it. And again, it draws your eyes outside to the view. And then, of course, the art that we commission.
Well, the art I wanted to ask you about, it's by Sunny Morel, correct?
Yes.
And Sunny, you asked her to paint these beautiful, colorful butterflies. And I'm wondering, was there a reason for butterflies? Is that something personal to the owner?
Well, yeah, so she has this artist, Paul Valinsky, with an installation of the metal butterflies. I don't know if you know about him, but he finds old cans, like beer cans and Coke cans, and has them collected in New York City and pounds them down into little butterflies and has them on these little he pins them into the wall so that they actually flutter with the wind, and he does these different installations. He's quite famous. And so she already had that and we moved it over to this house. And so I wanted to sort of play off of that, but bring more color into it and also have her daughter's eye hidden in the butterflies. So Sunny took a photo of her daughter and hid her face sort of in the butterflies. So if you look hard enough, you can see the eye of her daughter.
So I didn't know that. So I, along with all of our readers who are watching this, we're going to be examining that page. Well, I love it. And in fact, that's just one of many personal touches here. You mentioned that there were many feminine touches in the house and that you really tailored this interior to your client's personality. Can you tell us about that?
Sure. She had items she was bringing from the house before that we tried to incorporate. But yeah, there's a lot of, her master closet is very girly. We did like a soft snakeskin wall covering in the master bedroom, all soft blues and purples. And yeah, so it was, we kept it neutral, but we definitely added some pinks and purples and some feminine touches throughout.
And how would you say that these elements or other elements reflect her personality?
Oh, she's just fun and funny and quirky and has a great sense of humor. And so I think, I think interior should never be too serious and that there can be some fun and funny things that spark a conversation. So yeah, I think wherever you sit, there's something to talk about.
We're talking about the sort of feminine, girly elements, as you call them. And I think one of the places where that's really evident is the primary bathroom. What about this makes it a room for a woman?
Well, we started with the drapery and it has just a textural velvet. It's really rich. It has a lot of different colors in it and definitely pops of hot pink. So that was kind of we started there. And then we definitely wanted to make the bathtub somewhere that she would sit and soak and look outside and then also give her a steam room. And then that tile around the vanity it has a little bit of a girly element with hints of brass in it. And just the pattern itself, I think, has that lens to it being feminine. But it's also, it's not subtle, but it's not too in your face. So I think it is a great marriage of sort of neutral and feminine at the same time.
And it sounds like it's really a personal retreat.
Exactly. And just for her.
I love it. So you mentioned the snakeskin wall covering. When you go into the primary bedroom, you have this a beautiful view, right? And you have this snakeskin wall covering, a bed that's crafted with a fabric that almost looks like a tortoiseshell to me, and these pillows with bird motifs. Tell me about mixing and combining all of these textures and different patterns.
Sure. I mean, so I think it's fun to, I mean, I just love having animal motifs in any interior. It just gives it a little quirkiness. And, you know, in her, the snakeskin, I think because it's soft enough, it's not so in your face, but it gives that textural feeling to it. And also it just gives it a little edge. It's kind of edgy. So I love anything snakeskin. Yeah, so she just, again, she's just fun and playful, and we just wanted to keep it that way.
So in all of the projects of yours that I've edited or written about, there is a bird motif in every one of them.
Is there? It
And
used to be horses.
well, I mean, animals, right?
Yeah,
So
animals. Yeah.
what is it? You know, in this home alone, we've got the butterfly, we've got the snakeskin, we've got, you know, a tortoise shell and birds. What is it about the animal reference that makes a home wonderful?
Just it's better than just, I mean, just plain textures are boring to me. I think it's fun to have a menagerie.
I love it. Now, another element that I think you have to discuss if you're going to talk about this house is the main staircase. It's
Mhm.
beautiful, and its color is unique, its function is unique, and the rail is custom designed by you. So explain how you came up with the program for the staircase.
I love a little Asian of anything. So I love that, you know, that the motif of the railing. Just a Chippendale classic. You can spin around forever. So I love that it's just got a little bit of, it's brand new, but it has that old unique um, pattern to it. And then the bookshelf was just, it was like, what do we do with this huge space? You know, it's like 2 stories. It's dramatic, and we're just going to put a big, huge piece of art there. I feel like books are art, depending on how you display them. And also, it's just so it's an opportunity to bring color in because of the spines of the book. So we arranged it in a way that brought life to that whole space. And I think books just bring so much texture to a home, you know?
I love it because, you know, and it's lit so beautifully with these brass sconces. And I love it because you can, you know, be going down and select a book, or coming upstairs to the living room, select a book, sit down and read. It's really beautiful. And the rail, were you actually inspired by an actual piece of furniture, or did you look at several Chippendale pieces and sort of it's
I
conflated?
actually just looked, I just Googled Chippendale patterns and looked at a bunch of different ones and trying to figure out which one to use and scale wise, which would work. And that's why I figured it out.
Gotcha. Now, of course, the saying goes that it takes a village to raise a child, and it takes a team to build a house like this.
Right.
And so, who else was on the team that made this house reality?
Well, so the architect and builder, and obviously the landscape designer. I had nothing to do with the landscape designer. It was all him. He and Amy worked together. But the architect and builder and I were definitely 3 musketeers to get this done. It was Dan Fuller and with Haley Custom Homes, and Matt Stace with Stace Architecture, and they were fantastic. And you know, that's how a beautiful home is built, as a team.
And the landscape architects, we should say, are Nick and Amy Pisani, correct?
Yes, and they're great.
Um, Now, I'm going to ask you a question, and I always feel like this is kind of unfair. You know, as a mother, this is kind of the question, you know, who is your favorite child? But as a creator of all these rooms, do you have a favorite room or space in this house?
I would say the powder room one 100%. It's just like the little gem of the house. It's got everything going on that I could ever want. It has beautiful wall covering, hand painted chinoiserie wall covering. The ceiling wasn't forgotten, and we, capped it with a beautiful grass cloth. It has an antique incorporated in it by using that antique Chinese piece that we wrapped in stone. So it was just thoughtful, and because it was so small, I just feel like it just really shines.
Oh, I love it. I love you picked the smallest space as your favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything that you learned or took away from this project after it was finished?
One thing I learned was working with the architect so early on in the process. I actually got to get really deep into the architectural side of things with him. Our first pass at everything, the pitches of the roofs were low, and it sort of looked a lot like the other Bomar houses. And then we started working together to try to get the pitches more in angle and in line with the views and to line up. And so I learned a lot about, like, he would talk to me and teach me about how the loads were going to be held and where the snow was going to shed off. And so, we were kind of going back and forth on, well, can we do this? Can we do that? So I learned a lot about, the roof lines, which I hadn't really thought about until this project.
Every project is a chance to learn something new, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Andrea, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and giving us a closer look at this beautiful project. That's all we have time for today, but I want to thank you again for talking to us, and I want to thank everybody for watching Design TV. Until next time.
Thanks, Andrea.
Here we are, Location Luxe. I'm your host, Alan Canas, and here in Season 1, we'll be focused on what we're calling the Great Lifestyle Migration. On each episode, I'll be right here in San Francisco, Silicon Valley. Over the last few decades, we've witnessed a great migration for employment and technology development. As such, the need and demand for homes has been among the highest in the country. These migration choices are giving people an extraordinary opportunity to explore new locations, amenities, and lifestyle options. And that's why we're here. Location Luxe. This week, I'm so flattered to have David V. Johnson on our show, direct from Oil Nut Bay, the British Virgin Islands. David, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thrilled to be here.
We know that the British Virgin Islands is so much more than a destination location. It is truly a beautiful, gorgeous lifestyle. Would you please tell us a little bit about you and about your business?
So my professional career is as a real estate developer, and I've developed 40 communities over 40 years. 40 years ago, I broke my neck and was paralyzed from the shoulders down. And that puts money, God, and friends in perspective real quick. And so I decided, instead of doing volume, that I would do one of a kind, one at a time, generational lifestyle communities in harmony with nature. So we really decided that we wanted to find a place to live in the Caribbean where we would spend the rest of our life.
David, could you tell me why you and Pam picked the British Virgin Islands?
So we ended up with the British Virgin Islands being the perfect place because of the usability of the water, the stability created by the British government, and the fact that the financial services industry was here, which created the fact that the country was extremely successful and there had been no new development in almost 30 years. So it truly is a destination where the world's most successful people are coming here, and a magnificent neighborhood that we've chosen to be part of. I buy land by what I call the flutter method. And that's when my heart pounds out of my chest. I gotta have it. And I figure out all the obstacles.
David, let's talk about the Flutter method. I buy things on the Flutter method as well. Virgin Gorda and Tortola. Tortola I've been to many, many years ago. Let's talk about the shopping.
Well, what we're into selling is shopping for real estate, shopping for your forever home. And the Flutter method is the spectacular physical beauty that's contained in the BVI, with sheer rock cliffs on one side and beautiful beaches on the other, and really raw land, because the BVI is underdeveloped compared to any other country. So our owners can go online and shop any place in New York, Amazon, or whatever for goods. But when they're shopping here, they're shopping for a home where they can come, bring their family, and live in harmony with nature. And we've got the best.
It sounds like it. How is the access with flights and boating there?
What makes the BVI historically unique is it's the world's best boating. Going all the way back to the pirate days of the Sir Francis Drake Channel, because it's in a protected archipelago. So 50% of our owners have never been boating before, go out and buy a boat, and Oil in the Bay is their home base. And then they go out and have lunch at a different island and come back and safely boat. It's the world's best sailing. From an air access standpoint, any kind of private jet can fly directly into Lutzum Airport, which is Beef Island, which is connected to Tortola. Commercial flights fly into St. Thomas, Puerto Rico, St. Martin, and Antigua, and then come over in a connecting flight. The BVI is about to extend its own new runway and have direct flights from New York, Charlotte, Atlanta, and St. Thomas on American and Delta, which will be a game changer.
David, thank you. And David, where are most of your buyers coming from?
So our buyers are global, 1/3 from outside the United States, 2/3 inside the United States. Kind of 1/3 are 45 and under with small kids. 2/3 are 45 to 85 with kids and grandkids. And they're mainly coming from the Midwest and East Coast, but we do have buyers from California and Texas, and we're starting to see a lot more of that now because especially in the summertime when it's 100 degrees in Texas, June and July, it's 80 to 82 degrees here because your natural air conditioner is the ocean. 2 miles away from on the bay, the ocean's 2 miles deep. And so the water temperature is always 80 to 82 degrees, 26 degrees centigrade. And as long as there's 10-mile-an-hour breeze, the air temperature is 80 to 82. So you have a natural air conditioner, which is perfect for 10 months a year.
That makes it terrific. What are the seasonal activities? We know that there's boating and swimming. What else do you have?
Well, we have the world's best kiteboarding. And we've had the World Championship kiteboarding here. We have phenomenal scuba diving, snorkeling, all types of water activities.
Oh, that's terrific. David, I know many of the watchers are going to be asking this question. What are the taxes like there?
So 450,000 corporations are located in the BVI because there are no taxes. The simple fact is your real estate taxes on a $5 million house are less than $1,000 a year. So there's no income tax. There's no, if you rent your home, there's a 10% rental tax. there's no capital gains tax, and no estate tax. And so, there's really no taxes. There's a 12% acquisition tax on land when you buy and when you sell.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. David, can you tell me what the culture's like? I know it's been changing through the years. So your downtown is growing a little bit more, but the restaurants, the golfing, the resorts, and are the schools changing for people with younger kids? Do you have a younger community moving in?
So what's interesting is the first part of the culture is the BVI people themselves are fantastic. And we're so proud to live in harmony and be a part of the greater community and continue to do what we can to improve quality of life and get our worker base from the greater community. Culture is based on land, water, and we don't want a private club. We want to be home base so that you go out every day and go boating, 45-minute helicopter ride to St. Bart's and go for lunch, but coming back home because we have the best value and the best restaurants is what it's all about. Health is what we focus on quality of food, yoga, and everything that's a part of Walnut Bay.
It sounds wonderful. David, are you seeing inventory changing in the BVI as far as multiple offers? And how is that changing?
Well, that's interesting. COVID has accelerated everything by at least 10 years. And we've seen our buyers go to 10 to 15 years younger and are saying, why wait? We've sold our last 5 sales online.
And David, what are you seeing with appreciation year after year?
2010, there was nothing here. Now we have 1 gig of fiber. We have fiber through our roads. I've put in $150 million of infrastructure. I have no debt and no partners. We have 40 homeowners that have put in $400 million of built homes. We now have 70% of them are in rental management, so there are places for people to come and stay. So we really think it's time to tell the world.
David, can you tell me your favorite buyer story?
A gentleman walked in and to my office and said, my wife likes Peninsula 9. I've never been to the BVI before, and you have one shot to give me your best price. I said, well, the lot is listed for $12.9 million. It's worth $12.9 million. He said, you didn't hear me. One chance, best price. I said, well, 3 lots away, one of my best friends built his home and bought the lots on each side of him for $9.9 million. I'll give you the same price that I sold to him, so $9.9 million. He said, I'll either never see you again or I'll let you know in an hour. So an hour later, I was in another meeting in my office. He knocked on the back glass door of my office, waved for me to come to the door. I walked outside. He extended his hand and he said, the money's in the bank. You have a deal. That's my favorite buyer story.
I sailed virtually all of the Virgin Islands and many parts of the Caribbean. A friend of ours who owns a dive shop on St. John took us on a boating excursion and said, we got to show you something, and brought us over to Walnut Bay.
So the moment we stepped on the dock at Walnut Bay, put a spell on me. And every moment after that was never a disappointment.
I'm here with a special person in a special place.
David, thank you so much for being on this week's episode of Location Luxe.
Have a great day.